protect the profit, protect the money.
A lot of people will take money off the table too soon, it seems like.
No, this is a 4-layer cedar shake green deck.
He was like, man, I don't even know how to sell.
We're always going to be changing.
It's like the wolves are always chasing you.
That'll save you so much headache and embarrassment. And
You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As always, hit that subscribe, follow, comment, leave us a review, any of those types of things. Follow us on social media, Roofing Success on Instagram. Check out all the clips of the show. And if you want to take the conversation beyond what we're just talking about here, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success, and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. We're talking to a very successful roofing contractor out of the Windy City today.
Thanks,
Curtis
Jim.
Eshghy, how you doing today, man?
Great. How you doing?
Good, man. C&N Construction.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So, not out of just Chicago. I mean, you guys have had offices all over the place, but let's start with the kind of, the story. How'd you get into roofing? How'd you start C&N?
Got into roofing, responded to an ad on Craigslist about 15 years ago. And was looking for a job, was a young kid, and it was probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. So started working for a company. Everybody has their gripes with everything. So being able to stick through it and kind of gain what I could get out of the situation was awesome for me and my success in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I hear that from a lot of contractors. Like they started off and they're like, yeah, this company isn't doing it the way I would, right? Like I think there's some opportunities to change things.
There is a misconception with the fact that it seems easier standing on the outside than when you're running the company, right? Everybody, if it was my company, I'd do it this way. Uh-huh. And those are the same things I used to say. And then once you really get to that point in the business where, you got some real motion going on, there's so many different things that need to be changed, adjusted, tweaked. It's an industry that's constantly changing. So you have to constantly be adjusting and up training. And for sure. Some people that's uncomfortable. Some people they thrive in being comfortable in routine and stuff like that. This industry is not that industry, and if you try to play that game, there's guys that are going to adapt to the situations in front of them and really take over. So,
yeah, I heard a good analogy about like just entrepreneurship in general is like the wolves are always chasing you.
Yeah.
Right. Like
definitely.
They're always there. Like you have to keep running. There is no time to rest. Like you have to just keep going, jump that next fence, cross that next river, like just whatever problems are in front of you, you have to get through them because the wolves are coming. And complacency is tough, right? Like complacency has sunk a lot of ships, like a lot of good businesses that, people get fat and happy and all of a sudden, you guys are, you guys are to a point. How do you keep that hunger? I mean, you guys are Roofing Contractor Top 100, a couple of years in a row now. You're doing, multiple 8 figures. Like, how do you keep that? How do you keep that drive?
The way that I've been able to explain it and to keep that drive is looking at the people around myself and the people within the business too. And I always explain this to them, say the longer you're here, the more you're going to want to make, right? So the way that we get there is by being a team. So, I got 20 something office employees in here. All the sales guys are W-2. So it's kind of the way that you get to that next level is there's a saying that my dad used to always say. He said, what got you here won't get you there, right? And that's kind of the mentality you have to have in any business, right? So great job today, but tomorrow it really doesn't mean anything. And, the accolades come from the consistency of nonstop accomplishments, and never being content with what you did yesterday. That's what retirement's for, I feel like. When you retire or, in our industry, we do get a little downtime. That's January, February. If you're going hard throughout the year, your January and February, you should be able to enjoy some of the fruits of your labor. You can go take some vacations with your family and have a good winter, So
That's right. That's right.
I just
especially
really,
in these northern markets, right? We get to really take a break.
We definitely do.
In developing all these people, we had a conversation a couple weeks ago, I think, and we were talking about you really have developed a skill in finding things that people are good at and moving them to the right positions. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I always look at this industry as kind of like having an athletic team, a football team, baseball team, basketball team. If you got the guys who can play, maybe you just need to adjust the position that they're playing. So, for example, I've had guys that were in production that, were doing the ordering materials, assigning crews, permitting, day-to-day job managing stuff. And then when it got to a point where they weren't content with maybe what they were making or stuff like that, moving them out of those situations into a sales-based situation where you can create more revenue for yourself. And a lot of times people don't do sales is because they don't believe that they can do it, and they talk themselves out of it before they even give themselves a chance to. But finding the right position for people is super important. Someone might be really detail oriented, but you have them in a situation where they're doing so much volume based stuff that they can't be. Now you have to assess that situation, maybe pull them out of there. Maybe they should be in this position over here that kind of has to be very, very detail oriented and stuff like that. So identifying people's strengths and putting them in places to succeed is the easiest way to success. When you look at the people around you, you have to be confident enough in yourself to say, hey, this person is better than me at this, and when you can say that, they don't have to be better than you at everything, but they can be better than you at accounting. They can be better than you at, customer relations. They can be better than you at, ordering material or managing jobs or whatever it is, whatever you can find within them. And you can say, hey, this person's really good at this. And you take that as an opportunity to learn from them, and you build that up. You build that up within that person. And by building people up, in return, you get the success of that, and everyone around you eats, and that's one thing I'm really big on. There's 10 guys with $100,000 trucks at C&N Construction. It's not just one, every year there's a guy buying a new house or, whatever they want. Not that materials the only thing that matters, but it's nice having nice things. It's nice to enjoy nice things. This industry isn't, it's not something that when you do sales, and you're going, majority of our industry is door-to-door sales, right? That's a very lonely job. Even though you're dealing with a lot of people and you're dealing with a lot of interaction, sales by itself, I always tell people you should find something that replaces what you're selling, okay, within yourself. Because you're doing sales, you're selling all day. You have to adapt, adjust, change. For the brain, that's not an easy process. That's a very up and down process for an individual. You get happy, you get depressed. You don't get anything that day. It's not looking good. Finding those alternative things outside of just work too. You can't take time away from work, but you still gotta, if it's go to the gym for an hour, if it's do yoga, if it's, you're in a men's league, if it's just something to kind of ground yourself at a certain point is really important in sales.
To avoid that burnout, especially on the sales side,
Yeah.
right? I was talking to a contractor earlier today, and he was talking about when he first was hiring sales reps for his company. And he was like, "Man, I just can't see anyone being able to do this as good as me." And then he hired a couple of people, and he realized, he was like, "Man, I don't even know how to sell." Right, like like what you were talking about is like learning from the people that are around you, right? Like there are people, I'm sure there's people on your team on the production side that have a level of knowledge in roofing that like I don't know how they even got there, right? Like it's just it's so crazy how you put them on any project, you're like, "Hey, go look at this," and they're just like, "Oh yeah," right? Like it's just, here's the solution to that problem. Like, and man, commercial, residential, they just throw it out at you, right? Like there's people are the business, right? We become a hiring and training organization at some point in time, right? We move from being self-employed into business ownership. And I think that in that business ownership, we have to change our mindset to becoming a hiring and training organization and focused on the people. Is that, I mean,
definitely. And that's the only way to organically grow a business, right? There's no other way. You've got to, the continual education, the continual support, the trainings and everything. It's super important in our industry to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to all of that stuff.
So here's what a lot of people worry about. They worry about hiring the right person. They're always worried about, they want that first hire, your first at bat, the first try. They want that dream team. They want to hire Michael Jordan, right?
It's funny that you brought that up. We do a training class every 2 weeks. We have 5 to 7 people in a training class every 2 weeks. And I took one of my sales directors out of selling and had him run the recruiting and hiring and training process. And these guys are coming in and they're going, they're lasting a week, 2 weeks, just, how the industry is. And once I kind of identified, okay, we're not spending enough time with this guy. We're not building that relationship with this guy. I had the 3 other directors, I made them all spend a week with an individual. And I was like, let's just use this as a test example, right? All 3 of those individuals are still here and very successful, right? So, the revolving door aspect is also something that comes with growing too fast. And, in our industry, that's it's always a race. It's like a race. You want to you get 10 jobs this week. You want 20, you want 30, you want 40. And building the foundation is super important. It's always 5 steps forward, 4 steps, 6 steps back, and you got to come back down and you got to, okay, we got here. These were the things that became stressors, or these were the things that we couldn't handle. Okay, now bring it back down. Now build that. Now build it up. Now the second time when you're coming up, now you already have that safety net. You've created that foundation. You've been through these things, and you're not going to win at all of them, and that's the problem. Everybody wants to win all the time. Sometimes things are just learning lessons.
Yeah.
If you didn't go to college, if you didn't pay, $150,000 to, have a degree and go to school, you have to learn somehow. And that was the same thing when we talked about getting into the industry, was that company gave me an opportunity to learn.
That's right.
And regardless of what their business practices or personal situations are, I appreciate that opportunity. And
That's
without companies like, that, that company or myself, giving people an opportunity, I wouldn't be here. And I know there's a lot of good guys in the industry that are in great situations in life because of this industry. So,
For sure.
I'm a huge advocate of, if you want to change your life, there's always the roofing industry.
That's right. It's a hidden opportunity in life. It's this crazy thing. I mean, I started working with roofers like, I don't know, 7 years ago or something like that. And like got into the industry and I was like, this is crazy. Like there's this huge, like it's the amount and the people that I've met along the way and people that I've had on the podcast and stuff, like it's amazing. And no one, there were very few that were like, that's what I'm going to do. There were a few that were like in the family business, right? That like they came up in it and they understood that, okay, this is a path. Ooh, I know that's available to me. You know what I mean? But for most, it's not. You said something really, really impactful that I think I want to revisit. And that is that the people that work for you will always want to grow and earn more.
Definitely.
So how do you communicate with them to truly understand what those goals are for themselves, and then help to create a path for them to get there?
Unifying everyone, honesty. Like, hey, what do you make today? Okay, you make $150,000 today. You want to make $250,000. Okay, well, what did the company do last year? It's really easy. The company did $19 million. Okay, so if we do $25 million, I can get you that increase. So as a team, if we all work together, we're all going up. It's very hard for one individual to shoot up and then have a bunch of people around him who aren't excelling as well or not, going up as well, and it creates a lot of bad feelings, jealousy. Yeah. That's where you get dishonesty within a business, people stealing stuff, doing stuff like that. You can avoid all that stuff by just bringing your people with you, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to eat alone. You don't want to be the one always paying for the bill. It's nice to have the gratification of being able to look at, people that I love, and going to their house and seeing their wife and kids and those are the blessings and the things that as a business owner give you that drive to be able to tell them, we got to take it there. We got to go to that next level. If I want you to have this forever. I don't want this to be temporary for you. So, keeping people's drive for more or for better, you don't want them to lose that. If they lose that, they're no good. So I want them to say, hey, Curtis, man, I need to make 30 grand more this year. What do I got to do? Okay, I'm going to come up with an opportunity. I'm going to come up with something to get you to that next level. And that's how we manage individuals too, by an agreement. If I ask you, what do you want to make this year? I want to make $100,000. I'm a new guy. I'm going to manage you to make $100,000. You won't like it, right? You're not going to enjoy this, but at the end of it, you're going to appreciate it, right? And it's that simple. I tell people, don't get offended, don't get mad. This is what you said you need to have, right? I didn't say it, you said it. So managing the agreement and not the individual, but at the same time caring about people, And then sometimes you got to invest into your people, if the guy's license is suspended or if he's dealing with a child support issue or if he's dealing with some other life issue that's stopping him from putting his full commitment and energy into your business, that might be a burden that you need to take on for them. If you can keep them working, they're going to make more money than what you're spending on these things that are going on in their life that are stopping them from working or causing them to have these, other issues in life, right? So I always tell my guys, I'll take care of all the bullshit, the BS, right? Just go to work and make it happen every day. And I said, if you're doing insurance restoration, I said, how many kids do you have? I got 2 kids. I said, you need 3 claims every day. Do you have a wife? She needs a claim every day. How many people are in your household? Right? So if every day you look at it like that, okay, this one's for my daughter, this one's for my vacation, this one's for and you simplify the process, it becomes very easy and it becomes fun and friendly competition, but competition in the same. At the end of the year, we do a huge Christmas party. We just did our mid-year trip to New Orleans. There was like 25 guys that went down there, and the company pays for everything. And, that camaraderie, that really spending time with people, figuring out who they are, and appreciating it. This is a judgment-free zone at this point, and then you can kind of see how people tick, and then you can know how to manage them correctly. Psychology and understanding people has a huge, impact on how you manage someone, and it's not always the same thing. People always want to say, well, this is the system. Okay, the system is a guideline, right? But you still have to understand how to connect to people, how to get through to them. You could say it to somebody and they'll understand it, but somebody else, you might have to show it to them. You might have to, add a couple steps or take a couple steps out to get the point across. So, building people is the way to success. It's nothing else. I mean, you build the people in your business and they will build your business for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Things like spending time, not just being where they come to earn a living, right? Like the conversation that you can have with someone after you've spent time with them, it's different.
Yeah.
Right? It is. What you're talking about, understanding things. Another thing I heard you say, you're almost like like their personal trainer, right? Like your personal trainer will tell you, like they're going to ask you your goals. Hey, you want to get to this weight, or you want to add this kind of muscle, or you want to add, you want to, run this distance, or you know what I mean? Like you, and then they're going to hold you to it and hold you accountable to that. And sometimes tell you things that you don't like to hear.
Yeah.
To make sure that you're on track for that, right? Like Definitely. It's part of it. But I think tying it together is that the way that you're doing it, in the way that you are encouraging their growth and understanding their goals, that you're not doing it from a selfish place of, hey, if you do this, I'll make more money.
Yeah, it's not really it doesn't work. If you think like that, everyone else can see it.
They can see it,
right? They can see it. They see obvious. Right through you, and they know you're full of it, right? And no one wants to work for that individual. At least everybody came from somewhere, and everybody's journey is different. And when I started this, I didn't have anything, right? There was nothing substantial in life that I had. And in a very short period of time, after doing $140 million in sales over 6 years, I've gained a lot of things. And I've gained one of the greatest things I've gained is a different perspective, and a perspective of patience, of understanding, of, not being so reactive, right? Being reactive is the worst way to be with a customer, with an employee, with anything. With certain guys, like, the guys at the top, that's different. You can be a little more reactive with them. But when you're building people, there's patience is super important. And just, what are you going through? How do we get through this to get you here? And then you can only have so much stuff on your mind. So it's like, clear your head of these other things and let's focus on this growth. Let's focus on what's going to fix your problems. What's going to fix your problems is building stability. It's not all financial. It's mental stability.
That's right.
Emotional stability. It's financial stability, health, all of these things. are a huge importance of building the right people and then replicating it over and over and over again. My three directors are Owen, Nick, and Kevin, and we were on a boat a couple weeks ago, and they've been doing this 5-6 years now. They want to take some time off and do this, and and they were like, well, what about you do this? And I said, do you have an Owen, Nick, and Kevin? Do you have a true Owen, Nick, and Kevin? I said, because I do. And I'm talking to Owen, Nick, and Kevin, right? And that's, by saying it was what I was trying to get them. I said, this is who you are. This is who you are, and this is who you are. And you're great, and you're great, and you're great. Find the greatness and bring it around you, and it'll make you great, right? Because I got to own Nick and Kevin. Everyone needs one. Everybody needs that core team that moves together. It only takes 3-4 guys to really put something together. And then we have, everybody in the company is, it doesn't work without the other one. So there's every department, every individual. Without one person, the machine doesn't work,
You went to W-2 sales guys. When did you do that?
Beginning of this year.
Okay. Why?
Accountability as an individual, and drawing a different mentality individual, right? W-2, health and dental, benefits, company vehicle. Things like that are usually important to people who have families, right? I need to have health insurance for my kids. I need to have a reliable vehicle. I have to have, so you're drawing a different type of individual into your business, right? So even if it is, more expensive to employ a W-2 individual, the pool of people you're drawing from seem to be a lot better. Not better of people, but better employees. And then they are an employee. So code of conduct, how you treat a customer, how you treat another employee at C&N Construction, how you move within the system, right? When you're a 1099 guy and you're running a team of 1099 sales guys, legally you can't really tell them anything, and you really have no control over how they do their sale, what they say to customers. And if you care about your business being one of substance and something that lasts, you have to build that core. What's the word I'm looking for? The core method of business, I guess you would say. And W-2 means stability to a lot of people, right? They're going to get a check every week. They're going to get what they need. They're going to get,
Yeah. And we talk about that in marketing, right? I tell you, from it's your perfect customer, right? You develop
one more thing I wanted to say before we get off that. That the biggest reason was tax reasons for guys that just started making large amounts of money, right? So a guy goes from making $50,000 W-2 to making $160,000 1099, and at the end of the year he owes $50,000-$60,000 in taxes, and now he doesn't have it. And remember those investments we talked about before to get somebody to success?
Uh-huh.
I've had to clean up some of those type of situations for people as an investment into their future success here at C&N Construction, and that was about the time after doing it enough. I said, hey, we're going to go W-2, because
I heard Kevin Hart talking about this on a podcast or something recently. Maybe it was on his show or something, but he was talking about the first TV deal thing that he got a $250,000 check. And then it was his business manager at the end of the year was here's your bill. And he's like, what do you mean? I don't have I bought my mom a car and I, lent my cousin money and I did this and I did that and I did all these things. And I don't have any of that money left, and he's like, well, you got to pay taxes, Kevin. And Kevin was like, well, why didn't they just take it out of the check? Right? Because when you're an employee, when you're growing up, right? If you're just working entry-level jobs or whatever you're doing, they just take the taxes out. At the end of the year, they give you some back, right? At tax time, you get some back. That's a different mentality, right? And so he talked about how he now, from that day on, he has two bank accounts, right? And when he gets a check, he just puts half of it in the other bank account. This is for taxes later, right?
In our industry, it's very, just the whole thing is similar to being a sales guy, right?
Yeah.
So the company is the sales guy. So when the checks come in the door, I know a lot of companies pay a flat percentage off of a check, right? $1 in, they give you 10%. I've done that. I have my own beliefs and reasons why I think that it breeds a lack of not caring, right? Because if the job's profitable or not, if it goes to shit, if it's great, I'm only getting my 10%. So paying people off of the profit, I feel like protects the job a little bit more, right? And the individual selling the job, because now the more that the job is monitored, the more money they make. That those 6 bundles of shingles that note into the service department to get these picked up, or the returns, people will start caring about their jobs more. And also, majority of the first ACV checks that you get doing insurance restoration don't cover the cost of material and labor and overhead. So if I take a check from you as a customer and it's $4,000, it's not going to cover even the cost. Now I'm taking money out of that first check to pay somebody. That might be borderline. Eventually, it's going to run out. It's not going to work. That is the definition of a pyramid scheme. Right? This is the number one thing. You can't. Yep. So first checks go into an account. That is a first check account. That is money that does not get touched until the job is built. You have your second check account, right? You have your tax account. You have 4 or 5 different accounts that you're moving the money through. Okay, this is a first check. This can't pay overhead. This can't pay office. This can't pay anything. This is still that customer's money until the service is completed. Because what if I got to give it back? I mean, when you start doing, $20, $30 million a year, there's times when customers give us money and then they want it back because their cousin wants them to go here or this and that, and you got to be able to give it back. And how are you going to give it back if you paid somebody off of that money already? So that is a situation, just like switching to W-2. You're protecting your customer, you protect your employee, you protect yourself. And
you're protecting the business also. You're protecting everyone with that type of strategy. That's a deep thought right there. That's something that I think, there's so much to running a business, but having the finances in order. There are too many companies that'll go out of business from writing checks the wrong way, right? Not managing that inflow and outflow of money. That'll kill a company very, very quickly. So lots of good stuff there. What I liked about what you said was that you're attracting the right person. You're attracting a different type of person. And we forget about that a lot of times. We'll try to attract the right customer, but we don't try to attract the right employee. And so not only through your brand, we talk about that in branding and marketing, you're attracting the right customer, but I talk to contractors a lot about that. If you are the go-to brand in your area, you're more likely to have someone want to work for you, right? Because Definitely. They see you they're a stable place to go. right? You're looked at as that stable place to go. And then when you put this package together that they're a W-2 employee, they have health insurance, they have a truck, they have all of these things, they're like, wow, this is really stable. This is even more stable than I thought. So you're really grabbing that person that wants that stable long-term commitment to the company versus the person that's just coming in for like, how fast can I make some cash?
Exactly.
Right.
And you know what?
Man.
Speaking on that, earlier this year, I let the top guy in my company. He was he was not the main, but he was number one in sales at that point in the year. And certain people are like, "You're crazy. Why would you let that person go?" And it was just a different way of thinking, right? And it doesn't align with what I'm building. And sometimes doing that, you can't be scared of losing something that isn't going to build you long-term success, and by getting rid of some of those things and some of those individuals and people, the mentality and the energy goes up. Right? And people, because now they know you're going to be held accountable, right?
So someone might say, though, but Curtis, that's easy for you. You have so many more sales reps, right? Like how would you manage that as a earlier, younger business or a smaller business? Maybe running 2-3 reps, you're going to lose over a third of your revenue. What's your thought process for that?
Never get rid of them. Never get rid of them before you replace them. Right? Yeah. So if one's on the way out, 2 are on the way in. And that's why not being reactive, like we talked about earlier, matters. This has already been planned. I've already had this in my mind, but when is the right time to roll it out? And not everything needs a reaction. And this is a super stressful business, and I know like guys starting out first 2-3 years, that's a stressful time, especially if you're trying to take it somewhere. I mean, before you see $1, you go negative in this industry. So making it out that, is a huge success to anybody doing what we do,
For sure.
And I commend all of them, everybody, and not being looked at as a threat and more of an asset. I always tell people, are you an asset or are you a liability? There's only 2 people in the world. You're an asset or you're a liability. What do you want to be? Do you want to be the liability around? I mean, we've all been that. We've all been the liability, and that's not a good feeling. I want to be an asset. I want to be someone where, people can come to and gain knowledge or wisdom or something,
That reminds me of another thing that we talked about a few weeks ago, and you were talking about, educate yourself in your field.
Yeah.
Right? So if you feel like you're not doing the right thing in your business, or if you're just not on point with something, like speak to that a little bit, like your thoughts on making sure that you're really developing the skill set and educating yourself to excel.
Now, in the industry of, it's 2 different, especially when you're the business owner. There's 2 different. You can't just be about roofing or siding. And I'm the most knowledgeable roofing and siding individual, but I have no idea on how to run a business. All right. So now it's a balance. And like we talked about before, going through those progressional stages and then taking that step back and building it back up. We had 6 or 7 offices, in the past 2 years. It was Savannah, Atlanta, Chicago, Peoria, Denver, Milwaukee. And in this industry, for some reason, it's like maybe the suppliers, they call you a national company now, and you can put it on your website and on your business cards, and it looks cool. But what's more important in the long run is building in one location a system that can be replicated without any failure, right? And growing too fast, I would say, is because when I was doing it, people were telling me this too. They were saying, "Oh, you don't know," and I would look at them, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about," and I ended up closing all the offices except Illinois. And this year we'll do double of what we did last year. And it's focused energy. It's energy focused in one place for a consecutive period of time that will grow something so much larger than 10% here, 15% here, 20% here. And you start to realize how much money comes in and how much money goes out are just as important, right? And it's like you could bring in $20 million, but if you got 10 locations and 6 of them are failing and you're staffing people in these locations and there's an overhead and there's a cost to do business and you have workers' comp and you have to everything, you have AccuLinks and now you have different locations and you need more users. And I mean, it all ties in. So, my advice to anybody doing this is like the conversation started on getting rid of a guy when you got 2 or 3 guys.
Yeah.
Building the foundation and taking people from other industries. My top 6 guys in this company did not come from roofing. One of them was software sales, real estate. One was selling chemicals. One was a shitty contractor. And I was like, you're great at selling, but you can't paint a wall, for the life. So it's like you get you were in the ballpark,
That's
so
right.
and that's a guy who's one of our company's success stories. He was a guy who was living on a couch in a not a great area, and he came over to my house, and I'd only been in business 2 years, and I had a BMW, and it wasn't even that nice, but this is the perspective. This is where we talked about perspective earlier. He said, I want that BMW. I said, you don't want that BMW because it barely runs, okay? But to watch him and to build him into where he is now, I mean, this year he closed on a house. He's got an in-ground swimming pool, a half-court basketball court in his basement. I mean, he was a motivated individual. So taking him from that kid on the couch and dealing with issues in his life, I think it was $15,000 to get his license back. Right? It wasn't like, I was like, oh, here. Like, I made him feel it.
Yep.
I'm not gonna like just let him walk around, and I'm gonna talk my stuff to him, But in the process, you're building him. You build him up. Bring them back down a little bit. You build them up, you bring them back down a little bit. Because sometimes also when building people, their head gets a little too big.
Yeah.
And they start to feel like they know everything, and you don't got to tell me because I know this. And it's like, I don't know that. And you can't say you know everything, and you can't feel like you're above a lot of companies also, the politics within a company can kill a company too. And people will, my biggest thing is you don't disrespect anybody at C&N Construction because you never hear me disrespecting them. You never hear me going into their department yelling at them, swearing at a lady in a supplemental department. Like, are you crazy? There's just, you're in AccuLinks writing in caps, because you're angry about a situation. It's like, this is not how we're going to do business. And we really implemented like bringing people in from different departments and having like core meetings.
Yeah.
So like job reviews, when a job file comes in, there's someone from supplementing, there's someone from production, and there's someone from accounting in the meeting. Monday, they're going through 40 files, and then this is missed, and they're tagging them, and it's going in a different pile. And then it goes to the front desk, and then it's scheduled, and the customer's getting a phone call. Hey, we're going to do your roof between these, and kind of adding those extra steps too within the business is it's key. Growth and development within the company is key. And what got you here?
What got you here won't get you there, right? Like
Right.
I've heard that recently a few times in a few different ways. And it's just so true. The other part of it is you don't know what you don't know, right? A
Yeah.
lot of times. So as you're building this thing, right? Like there are things that you just don't know. You
Yeah.
completely didn't know that. And now when you hit that problem, that's what we do as entrepreneurs, right? We solve problems.
Yeah.
It's just a constant problem solving. And so, when you're able to put some of those processes in place to fill those gaps, like that's I like to say that a lot, is filling gaps, right? You find a gap and you fill the gap. You find another gap, you fill the gap. Like, and the more times you do that, just the tighter that thing gets, right? The tighter it runs. What are some of those things, like you're just talking about right now? Like the team gets together and goes through the files and they're doing things. What were some of the most impactful things like that you put in place that had the most kind of the most impact?
Um, Slowing the process down a little bit and building different departments, and the job goes through a pre-review before we do anything, and that's done within 2 or 3 days. It goes through pre-sup, it'll go through production, it'll go through, it's in QuickBooks. Accounting is going to do their review on the job. We'll do a profit analysis on the job before we build it.
Before you build it.
Before we build it, right? After. Before we build the job, we're going to do a profit analysis. And also, we don't pay subcontractors based on a price sheet. We send a bid to them. So we have, 30 contractors in a group, and we send, okay, C&N Construction is willing to pay this much for this job. That's it. And then if there's additional items or you don't agree with this pricing, explain to me why. Right? Because, you got to have control over your own jobs. Something else we implemented was the project manager role. I didn't want to take 3 guys and pay them, what a project manager is paid to monitor jobs after a crew that you're paying already, right? But you have to. It's quality control.
Yeah.
A lot of subcontractors, they don't really care about your business. They're not here to care about your business. That's why the 1099 method, in my belief, doesn't work, and it'll fail. And you might be able to get some money off it, and if that's what success is to you, then great. You made $2 million. Great job. You know what I mean? And now your business is gone. And your people are, you made $2 million, but they owe the IRS $4 million. So, like, what did you really make? You just kind of took advantage of situations, and when you know better, you got to do better. And the project manager, quality control is so important. I remember my first week of C&N Construction, I got like 5 or 6 jobs. I'm out there hitting doors. It's December. I'm building them. I'm pushing to build them because I'm like, I just started this company. I get a job. This guy and his wife live in separate houses across the street from each other. So the policy address was the one across the street, right? So I got like 3 getting built today. I show up at the house. I'm like, he's like, yeah, we're here. We're tearing the roof off. It's not a single layer. It's 4 layers and a cedar shake underneath it. We're going to need to redeck it. And I'm like, hold on. I'm at the house. You guys aren't here. He's like, no, look across the street. And I'm like, that is not the right house. And this is job number 5. This is a 4-layer cedar shake redeck. Okay. So I'm in my truck. It's super important. Just protect the profit, protect the money. Don't, and there's also the yin to the yang, like sometimes people will turn in jobs that aren't profitable and I'll still build them. All right. Because it's a flow. There's also the flow. So there's the money flow, and then there's building good jobs, build good jobs. That's why you don't pay off of the sheet, because this guy's $15,000 job is a lot different than this guy's $15,000 job. Because it might cost $13,000 to build his $15,000. It might cost $7,000 to build his. So why would they get paid the same if the profit is completely different? Well, it's to control it, so you don't have to do the math, so you can keep people blind, so you can keep the carrot in front of their face. And short-term 1099, that's probably the way you should do it, But if you're building people and you're building employees, those are huge learning lessons. Hey, do you see why this job was at a 57% profit and this one was at a 22% profit? Well, you gave this away. You didn't upsell this. These are training lessons that you gain from it. And the best training is real world experience. Yeah. And then they're like, oh man, you're right. Or, oh, I should have got that, or I didn't get that, or I should have, spent more time at the adjuster appointment, or, and there's no shortcuts to success. There really isn't.
No, and there's always another thing to solve for, but it's just when that comes up, like you're saying, it's just a learning lesson. So it's a lesson to the employee, but then it's also something that you could potentially build a process for to fix and to preemptively get to that, right? Like how you're saying, like that your team is reviewing before and determining the profit before you're building the job. Like you've just shifted the timeline of things around.
Even to the point where the front desk calls the customer to just want to confirm color, right? This is like a fourth confirmation on color, because you wouldn't believe it. When you're doing that type of volume, you got to create these barriers, these checkpoints, checkpoint, because that'll save you so much headache and embarrassment and wasted time and money, And I mean, I'm a big believer, if the customer isn't happy, tear it off and do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done that 20, 30 times. Tear them off and do them again. I mean, one last week, the guy used rolled roofing in the middle of the roof because he ran out of shingles, and it was a Saturday. Right? And I'm like, no. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, this can't be real. You can't really be doing it. I got a picture of it. And then, the eaves were cut wrong. And it was just so I apologized to the homeowner. I explained to him the situation, and tore it off and did it again, and we're not paying you unless you got workers' comp and liability and all the photos are in, and we have what we need to get paid as well. And we pay every week to our subcontractor, to our subs and our suppliers. So it's like, staying on top of that, but we're not going to just give it to you because you come in and demand money. Oh, I did 20 roofs, but if we can't get paid on it, why would I pay you? This industry is kind of like that. If you're going to let people take advantage of you, they're going to take advantage of you. Your subcontractors will, your customers will, your employees will. You got to stand on something, and sure. It doesn't have to be something negative. It just has to be honesty. Honestly, if I don't have this picture of this additional layer, I can't pay you for that additional layer because the insurance company will not pay me for the additional layer. It's that easy, right? I need this. It's the gang to the gang. We're working together. Let's not work against each other. If your invoices aren't in at a certain time, accounting is going to push it till next week. What do you want me to do? No, you're not going to come in midweek and interrupt. We're not going to continue this, cycle of this industry is not the most stable industry. So creating stability and chaos can be a very fun and exciting process.
Yeah, for sure, man. How have you like, as you've grown and as you've built your company, what are some of the we talk about reinvesting in your business. What are some of the where you've taken, a lot of people will take money off the table too soon, it seems like, or even when they hit, when they start doing numbers, they're like, ooh, now I get to really take money off the table. But if you don't reinvest in your business, it's a big mistake. What are some of the advantages that you've had from reinvesting in your business?
I mean, having a home, right? So the first thing you want to, I believe, we have a location in Illinois, 13,000 square feet. Bought it last year, paid cash for it, thank God. But it needed a reno. And I was like, well, what's awesome is that we're a construction company. So right now, as we speak, half of the building is done. The other half needed to be remodeled. We had to put a new water main in there and a fire sprinkler system for the whole building. But investing back into physical assets, and then investing back into individuals. So, if you're hiring somebody as a W-2, anything you're paying them until they're starting to build revenue is in advance, right? So making sure that you have the funds available to grow the company and to bring these people in. We use enterprise fleet, right?
Yep.
I mean, every year it goes up. I mean, an enterprise truck's $1,400 a month right now. So we bought a fleet of trucks, right? And getting people out of it and getting people to understand, okay, I'll give you the down payment for the truck, right? But now the payment, we're going to give you a reimbursement for your vehicle. And now it's going to be paid off. And in 3-4 years, now you have a truck that's paid off. So when you go to get your next one, you already have a down payment, right? And it's just more about, I feel like if you break it down to the individual, investing into the people, the simplified situation is just build them and be good to them, and they're going to be good to you, and when people are going to mess up, people are going to do stuff that, you don't agree with. And it's not necessarily you have to cut people off completely. It's a learning lesson. This is an honesty time. You know what I mean? This is when we can be honest with each other. That some of these guys, they don't have nothing. They come off the street. They see money in front of them. I've had, individuals take money and stuff like that, and people fire them. But then some of those people have, turned into some of the best employees you could have. People aren't who they are with different circumstances in their life. You can meet a guy today and meet him 5 years ago, or meet him 5 years ago and meet him today. It could be two different people. You never know. People have kids. I know in my life, having a child completely changed my life. So things happen and people change, and, growth is change. So we're always going to be changing.
Always.
Yes, sir.
What do you think what do you think the greatest insight is that you could share with our audience that's really helped you find success in building C&N? Like the greatest insight, like if there was one thing you could tell them, like this is the one thing that'll help you succeed in your business.
Invest into your people. Invest into so if the girls doing AccuLinks in the office are doing supplements and Exactaments, send her to the training classes. Get your guys knowledgeable. Weekly, we put together like a 16-week. We have our sales meeting Monday. All the managers after the sales meetings, we do a weekly training. Okay, this is how to do an install agreement. This is how to do a roofing spec. Yeah, we know how to do it already. No, we're going to do it again. And it's just constant. Once you graduate those 16 weeks, okay, now I feel like you're capable. But, these are things that greatest insight is build the people in your company, and they will build your company.
That's awesome, man. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.